Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another ARP Neuro Q&A. My name is Jake. I'm the ARP Neuro trainer, and we have Matt Dell with us, our CEO of ARP Neuro. Matt, good to see you again. How have you been? I love the red hat, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to change up the hats just so people don't get bored with my. And then as I put this hat on, I realized, man, this is one of my good hats. Why have I not been wearing it? So, anyways, what are you going to do? I love our new format. Little technical difficulties, trying to go live. This will be fun. Very, very fired up about our guest today. I cannot wait to get him on. So nobody wants to hear from me, trust me. So let's jump right in and introduce our awesome guest today.
All right, let's bring it on. So he's the kind of player who lets his hits do the talking. He's aggressive, sharp, and always puts himself in the right place at the right time. From his days as a standout at the University of Minnesota, where he built a reputation for shutting down top receivers and delivering punishing tackles, to being drafted in 2016, his path has been nothing short of relentless. He's made his mark across multiple NFL teams, stepping up in big moments, like his key pass breakups with the Texans, game-saving tackles with the Browns, and his versatility in both man and zone coverage. Whether it's forcing a fumble, locking down the slot, or making a crucial fourth down stop, he's always in the middle of the action. But it's not just what he does on Sundays. Off the field, he's focused on growth, recovery, and longevity, embracing advanced tools like ARP neurotherapy to keep his body sharp and his mind even sharper. So without further ado, ARP Neuro proudly welcomes Jacksonville Jaguars defensive back Eric Murray.
Who was in on you said, the guy said you were the toughest guy on the team.
Man, that was a great intro. I almost thought you were a football fan for a second. I appreciate that. That was nice.
I'm a huge football fan, and so is Matt.
Yeah. Oh, what an intro. I love it.
That was nice, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I got to ask, okay, that pick you had against the Patriots and the pick against the Browns had to have made top 10 on SportsCenter.
I wish I could say they did. I didn't watch SportsCenter that night, but I'm hoping they did. That was I mean, they're pretty good picks and good crucial moments of the game. So
yeah,
that's being humble. Pretty good. He pinned it up against the guy's back, pulled him down to the field. It was pretty good. I mean, I would say it's definitely a top 10 in sports.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some. We're gonna get our research staff looking into that.
Okay, all right, cool.
I have one before we get started, man. I have one more. I want you to talk about this one. I couldn't help myself when I was going through some of your videos. So tell me about this deal. What's going on here?
Oh yeah, that was the Nickelodeon slime. They just, I guess, because like Nickelodeon kind of does a broadcast on the side now, like to get kids into football. So yeah, they wanted to slime me after the game, and ended up playing pretty well. So I think you got to play well to get slimed. So that's a good thing.
I love it. Yeah,
that's
I
awesome.
couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we always start, Eric, with just getting a background. You tell if you can, our listeners, your journey, from Milwaukee to the cold of Minnesota and then to the league. So give us a little background of who you are and let everybody kind of understand a little bit of your background, if you could.
Yeah. So Eric Murray, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I grew up only child. Started playing football around age of 12 or 13. So I guess later than my other counterparts that would probably start at the age of 5 or 6, right? So I was a multi-sport athlete. Um, I wrestled, ran track, played baseball, did a little bit of everything. Going into my senior year, didn't really have any offers, didn't know where I was going to go to school. Um, Probably planned on being a D3 player at that moment. I think my coach had some pretty good connections to UW Whitewater and was going to go that route and thought I was going to be a premier wide receiver. So that summer, really, what kind of changed my life, I went to 3 football camps. I went to Central Michigan, University of Northern Illinois, and then my last camp was Minnesota. And I think throughout that summer, now that I look back, I progressively got better at each camp. Central Michigan, like they came up to me and they was like, "Yeah, you look like you got it, but you're not quite there yet." And at this moment, I was still a wide receiver in my mind, and I only did wide receiver drills. So Northern Illinois was kind of like where I got a taste of, okay, you may be able to play both sides of the ball, but I still didn't audition there. Um, Ended up going to the Minnesota camp. I went to the cornerbacks on accident. I was supposed to go to the DB section. I mean, the wide receiver section. Went to the cornerbacks on accident. And I guess when they seen one of the DB coaches seen me, my coach Savell, he liked what he seen. He said, "You might be back later." So went through the camp as a wide receiver, dropped a couple passes, and it was like, "Yeah, he got hands like a DB." So they threw me on the other side. They threw me on the other side, and literally from the first snap, I locked down 3 people at the camp. And one of the guys that happened to be there, he was the top recruit in Minnesota. He was a wide receiver, so I went against him a bunch of times, no catches. So it was potential there, and so they asked me to come back. I think 2 weeks later, and I was supposed to go to Wisconsin the next day to do the camp, and I just remember I was super, super exhausted, and I just, as a kid, you really don't get tired, but like I was tired, and I didn't know if I could wake up and go to the camp that day, and I didn't have to, luckily, because they called me and was like, "Hey, we want you to come back and and really do another camp tryout," and I went there. We had on shoulder pads. We were tackling at the camp. I don't even know if they can do that anymore. Um,
I think so.
but
Old
Yeah.
school football there.
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, went there. It was 3 DBs and 12 receivers. We did one-on-ones and we did tackling drills. Um, and ended up walking out of there with an offer. So
I
once
love it.
Nice.
I did that,
Well, by
accepted
the
it.
way, some of those hits in the NFL, it's like you were not shy of contact. That's for sure.
No, I wrestled. So I initially started wrestling because of Roddy White. I'm a huge like NFL football fan. Like I love NFL football. I never was like a college fan or anything like that. So I initially got the idea to wrestle because Roddy White was a big wrestler.
That's funny.
And he was a great receiver for the Falcons and stuff. So that's why, I was always mapping out my path in my mind. And yeah, luckily it all shook out for me. So
I love it. So when we ever get to meet, in person, I'd love to see you and Jake get after it. Jake wrestled at Michigan State, so that would be a
okay,
good little
okay.
battle.
Nah, he might have me a little bit. I only wrestled for one year. I wrestled at 171, so I lost
Okay.
one match, but I was okay. I was
No,
Your
okay.
toughness is it explains it now when you mentioned that. And
Yeah.
you said you had hands of DB. I think you had the temperament of a DB, and that's why you're so good at where you're at. You definitely
Yeah.
have that spark.
yeah, I love the story. So okay, so now you're tell us a little bit about, you know, your experience at Minnesota and how
hmm
long did it take you to get to become a starter and all that journey? How did that work out?
So when I first got to Minnesota, I started out playing corner. I was mostly a special teams player, so I just did special teams my first year. Then once I made it to my sophomore year, I think a guy had got hurt during spring, and kind of like once he got hurt during spring, I got a whole spring of tape, and they got to look at me. And from that moment on, coaches like what they seen. I was still raw, starting out, but I had some good tendencies, and I had some good technical ability. So got my first start against UNLV. Almost got a crazy pick that first game. Ended up having a bunch of pass breakups, and the rest was history after that. So started for 3 years. I can't remember all the accolades I put up there, but I just was so ingrained in it, and I just loved it for that moment. So spent a lot of time there. I was an English major. It was fun.
Nice.
I love it. And so during that career, what was the most nerve-wracking game? Was it the first start, or was it going up against the best receiver at Ohio State or some other team? Tell me
Um,
about that moment that comes, first thing that comes to your mind when you say you had that oh boy moment, like it's time to step up.
I think the first moment, because at that time Nebraska was like top in the Big Ten. They had like Taylor Martinez. I remember Amir Abdullah went there. Kenny Bell. They were like one of the better teams in the Big Ten, and they were still had that Nebraska air about them coming back from the past. So,
Yep.
um, I remember I was playing cover four, and their top receiver at that moment. I had been putting up pretty good stats, and I was still pretty young in that sense. I was still a sophomore, but that was probably like once we got to the Big Ten games, and I remember the guy, he caught a post on me the first 6 plays of the game, and I at that point I had never given up probably a catch over 10 yards, right? So that was like one of the biggest gains on me for the season. And then I went out there and ended up locking them up the rest of the game. I don't think we won that game, but I think that was like one of the moments where people was like, okay, he showed some resilience and he had a next play mentality and he was able to move on. But that was one of the bigger games. That was nerve
Was
wracking
that a
for
game
me.
when you started thinking I can make the league?
It was my sophomore year, so I still wasn't really worried about it at that moment.
Okay.
So I just kind of, kept my head down and kept working. I think that became a reality after my junior year when people started asking me, was I going to leave early? And I'm like, nah, I never really thought about it. But me, I'm the type of guy, I enjoyed school. I enjoyed, living a college life and being in that lifestyle. So I just wanted to be in college at that point. Yeah, I guess I was naive in that moment. I wasn't thinking about any monetary things or nothing like that.
I love
Nice.
that. Well, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I think more collegiate athletes need to do that just to, that
Yeah.
experience. I mean, let's face it, college life is as good as it gets.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, you got no responsibilities. You young. I wasn't poor by any means. I know everybody like to say, I'm in college. I had a little bit of money. I didn't have NIL money, but I had something. And
yeah, come on. And I know then I NIL money. I just had a friend of mine. He played at Wisconsin, and there's like they had some lawsuit. If you were in the league,
Yeah,
if you were in college, I can't remember what the cutoff date, but they're paying off some. They're paying some dollars to some previous
yeah,
players.
Mhm.
yeah,
I don't know. That's crazy.
yeah.
So,
I
so
missed it.
tell us,
I missed the cutoff, unfortunately, but it's okay.
bummer.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he got a letter or something. And then all of a sudden he's like, this is
Hmm.
probably a scam. And
Yeah,
his old man, who's a good friend of mine, said, no, give, you know, call in. I think he got a nice little, check. I mean,
yeah,
it never
yeah.
hurts. Doesn't matter who you are. But so tell us about the NFL experience, the draft. Did you have to go to the
Mm-hmm.
combine? How did that all work out?
Ended up going to the combine. Combine was a good experience. It's just like, I guess what a lot of people don't see. It's a huge job interview. Besides the on field stuff, like the off the field stuff, like you're interviewing. They take you into this room with all the NFL teams, and it's literally hundreds of people in one room, and you going from table to table to table to table to table, team to team, talking to all these different people. And that's just a different experience because I think for me at least, that was my first time I had been in a job interview
Mhm.
and it's kind of like it's not a normal setting. It's like it's
Yeah.
formal, but it's also informal at the same time.
Okay.
So going through that process was nerve-wracking, and then you meeting all these different people, trying to put your best foot forward. That part in itself is just difficult, and you're expected to go out there and perform and put up your best numbers, um, for the combine. So still was a
What
fun process, but it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the interview part was probably more tedious and
Yeah,
challenging than the physical aspects of the combine. Is
for
that
sure.
pretty accurate?
Yeah, for sure. It's like, I mean, I'm a pretty reserved guy, so me talking to a lot of people in one day, it's draining. It's a little draining. So,
Yeah,
you just try to smile and you giving the same answer over and over again. It's mundane. It's like, all right, okay, how much can I
yeah.
really sell myself? You know, so at that point, I'm like, I'm just be myself. It's okay.
There you go. Yeah, I mean that's all you can do, right? Because then it's like, oh, I can't keep this up for 3 hours of
Yeah.
conversations. But it is impressive. I mean, this draft thing has become a year round. I mean, I've seen you almost get to the point where like they keep drafting, they draft. They've got these mock drafts. You know, that had to be from. I'd love to always ask this of an athlete. You know, during that whole process, did you ever keep tabs on that whole your stock? Or, you know, are you going to go from a second round, a fifth round? You know, how does that tell our listeners the experience of that from your perspective?
I mean, I kept track of it more towards after the combine was over. I was more interested in it. I didn't want to do it while I was actually doing so. I didn't want it to influence my behavior or anything like that.
Okay.
So I definitely paid attention afterwards, just reading some of the stuff that people said about me or, you know, assumed about me in our short time meeting. So you definitely take a peek.
Yeah, oh, it's good. I mean, it sounds like you had the great mindset going in there and just, you know, being yourself and,
Hmm.
you know, letting your athleticism, you know, kind of speak for itself. And was there any particular stat that you were impressed with, whether it was your 40 or any of the strength drills? Was there one? What comes to mind is one that you said, okay, I killed that one.
I probably the vertical jump. Ended up jumping like a 39 and a half. I wish I could have jumped a 40, but
Nice.
um, you know, I think 40 is just like, oh yeah, but you know, 39 and a half still pretty good. So.
I love it.
Pretty
So
good.
you had an unbelievable journey from Milwaukee to Minnesota. Tell us a little about your mindset on the physicality, what you do to, you know, to stay in shape. Tell
Mhm.
our listeners a little bit about just that journey, injuries that occurred throughout that whole process, and what you do to be a professional and you know, stay both physically and mentally, you know, prepared for the battles.
I mean, first and foremost is your film study. I mean, I think that's pretty a given, but I think the physical part of it is just finding things like the Art Neuro, finding other products, whether it be the hyperbaric chamber or any other products that can kind of calm your nervous system down to be able to help you to perform because during the week you're taking such a beating to be able to prepare for the games and you just want to be able to give your best at the games. And I think that's what I learned the most this year. Like I implement IVs um, after a hard week of practice and just being able to get that extra supplementation going into the game and hydration. And now being able to implement the ARP Neuro in the off-season program to kind of regenerate those old injuries that you may not know that you did, you know, because you take a lot of bruises and nicks throughout the season. And it's a lot of stuff that'll linger, and then it just creates a chain reaction of injuries.
Yeah.
And then when it creeps up on people, then people have no idea, like, when did this happen? How did I get hurt? Was I feeling this? And it's like by that time, it's too late and you're behind the 8 ball. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you just gotta find new ways to keep the body fresh and really, I think, be honest with yourself on what healthy really is.
Yeah, that sounds great. Out of curiosity, how did you discover direct current and art neural? How did that
So
journey?
I've been doing like doing some Russian stem with the Globus and things of that nature. So I got introduced early to it. I had a great strength and conditioning staff in Minnesota, and a lot of those guys went forward to be in the league and stuff. So they were ahead of the curve as far as like these modalities, and they just didn't offer me hot tub and cold tub. They were offering, you know, things I can do passively while sitting down or, you know, to occupy my time and really help recover. Um,
Okay.
and use all my time for recovery. So that was kind of how I got introduced to it. Um, and then once I, you know, found you guys and talking about the direct current, I definitely was interested. So I just wanted to delve deeper into that and really learn and figure out how to, you know, really nourish my body and make it better.
I love it. Well, you might be the first interview that I get to ask because I've heard nothing but horror stories about Russian stem
Yeah,
and the painfulness of that
yeah.
comparatively to the direct current. Now you're the first one I get to ask, other than, you know, our own training staff. But tell our listeners that some people understand, because Russian stem, for those that don't know, has been around, and that was kind of that was before direct current became popular 20 years ago. So the fact that you've experienced that, I personally want to know this, so I'm sure our listeners do. How much more difficult is that Russian stem
It's
than the current?
it's way more aggressive. So say if you raise it to about a 10, right? And I always kind of go with this analogy, like it's like real aggressive, and it's aggressive the whole time, right?
Okay.
So once you go to the direct current with the arc, it may start out aggressive, but once you go through that wave or that undulation pattern that you guys always speak about on your machine, it mellows out and it really mimics that wave, how you say. So you can definitely feel the difference between the two. And even if you're in a higher number, at some point it's going to mellow out, whereas the Russian stem is going to be pretty much the same sensation all the way through.
Okay. Wow, that's a great analogy.
I want to. I'm glad we're recording this, because I'm going to share your clip with doctors that will ask me the difference. That was well put.
Yeah,
You're going to save me some energy.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, because it's funny, because even direct current is unique, and I'm still blown away because it's so successful, so prevalent in the NFL and MLBs and all the professional sports, getting more active in collegiate and high school, and now it's all over, even pickleballers and weekend warriors, because it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Everybody wants to be on the field. Everybody wants to stay healthy. Everybody wants to be active. And to your point, you made a great point. Those injuries and those things that you don't even know are injured, those compensations that you've had, being proactive as a pro, and I say a complete pro like yourself, you're able to strengthen some of those compensations to avoid those injuries. And you might be the first guest that has been brought some insight to that, because most people don't fix something until it's broken.
Yeah, for sure.
And your knowledge is of being able to be proactive to try to get through some compensations that you don't even know are going to lead to injuries. This is the first interview that we've had where a pro athlete like yourself has understood the value of being preventative, if you will. So I appreciate that insight for sure. I love it, and the working through it. So once you get experience with it and you start being able, because it's obviously you work through movements, it strengthens things. It is a game changer that I still think is one of the best kept secrets in professional sports and actually weekend warriors. So that's some good insight. I love it. I have to switch gears a little bit, because you're not only a hitter, you're a wrestler, you're a stud athlete. But tell me a little bit about all this charity work that I did a little research on this one. I typically don't, but Eric, I did have to admit I had to do a little background.
What? That says something.
Feed My Starving Children, Special Olympics. This Eric is like MVP of all our Q&As. I mean, this guy has it all. And he speaks pretty good Spanish from what I understand.
Yeah, I did. I took some Spanish. Well, I took some Spanish, but I went to a Spanish immersion school, like in elementary school. So yeah, I'm not I haven't spoken it since college. That was the last kind of like official courses that I took for Spanish. But yeah, I can communicate and get around in a Spanish speaking country if I need to.
Oh, nice. Good. I might have to go down to Mexico with you, because I have no chance in that. But I'm impressed with the charity work. You want to tell our listeners a little about that? It sounds like you're not only about keeping a pro, staying a pro, but also giving back. Tell our listeners a little bit about some of the work you did there.
Most of that work was through with the teams. Whatever team events was offered, I try to at least do 2 or 3 a year, and just be able to give back to the community and feel closer to whatever you're doing, whatever your work is geared towards. So a lot of us are going to other teams and other communities that we aren't a part of. So being able to kind of trying to get a landscape of how the city is moving, and how the kids are there, I think it's important, and it just helps facilitate better work, just overall.
Well, I applaud the effort for sure. So I got to ask, so let's talk a little bit about being in the league. Just like the question on the college. Okay, who's the best receiver shutdown that you were able to, have a great day with, or scared you going into a game that you feel like you were able to put your best foot forward?
We talking to college or just?
No, now we're talking in the league, in the pros.
Man, that's a kind of a hard one. I would just say, overall, when you see like premier tight ends or people who um aren't necessarily, they kind of don't fit the mold of their position. So when you're able to have a good day against them, it feels pretty good. So, and it's not like, people that come to mind will probably be like Evan Ingram. He's more of a receiver type, but he has a tight end style body. So being able to stay step for step with one of those guys and do that, I mean, that's what the league's all about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and so I got to ask, where do you live in the off season? Are you back in Milwaukee area, or where do you live in the off season? Or
I live in Houston currently. That's just because that's where I've played, but I'll be moving here soon, shortly, probably to Jacksonville, and I'll stay there. Most of the time, wherever I've played at, I've tried to kind of establish and put some type of root down there, and just live there and just be ingrained in the community.
Okay, good. And it sounds, we wish you all the best in Jacksonville. Unless you're playing my Bears, that's the only team, that
Still go Jacksonville.
That's crazy. The Bears. That's
this.
Listen,
as a season ticket holder, this is like, come on, we are so overdue.
You gotta have tough skin to be a Bears fan.
It's tough. I do have to ask, have you ever? I've got a good friend and family that's in the league. Have you gone up against Alec Pierce from the Colts?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know him. Number 14. He got the wheels on him. He's pretty fast. He's a pretty fast cat to be as big as he is. He's really, really fast.
Yeah, that's a sick family of athletes. The oldest son, I grew up with these guys. Their kids were all the same. My son, who was a year younger, he still brags. He says he shut down Pierce in practice. He was a corner. And so, but yeah, the oldest played at William and Mary basketball and at UNC, then played professional. The middle guy was Alec, who is a stud NFL guy, and the youngest is a hooper at Princeton, who made the tournament. So it's a great family, but good. If you run into him, tell him Matt Dell says hello for sure.
All right, I'll let him. I'll probably see him again. He's still in the division, so I'm sure I'll see him twice again. So yeah,
I love it. Yeah,
familiar with him.
Tell him you're going to shut him down, just like that short 5'10" corner Kyle Dell supposedly shut him.
I'll let him know.
He was a great volleyball player too. He had some jumps. I mean, he could jump out of the gym for sure. But I love it. Well, good. Jake.
We have a few. Someone sent me a text. He keeps texting me. He's like, ask him about the pick six. We haven't talked about the pick six, so I want to bring that up. Just what's going on in your mind when that happened? It doesn't even happen a lot in the NFL, so that was a pretty big play.
I mean, I think it was, it's anybody's dream to score a touchdown, but to be able to score a touchdown in the NFL was just
and the way
it was just crazy. It was just crazy in the moment that it was in. It was a playoff game, like on national TV. I think that just was the icing on the cake, so to speak. And it's just I couldn't really fathom it. Like it's just a dream come true, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's been an exclamation point to the way you play, though. Just always positioning yourself in that right spot, just enough to break things up, and then occasionally you get that gold gem where you're able to actually take it and then get 6 points out of the deal. I mean, it was just a beautiful poetic
playoff game.
Yeah, and a playoff game, like you said,
all eyes are watching playoff games, so that's awesome.
Yeah, we have another follower. He works with us, does a lot of work with us, and wants to give you a shout out. He's a Marquette grad. He said shout out to Milwaukee native. So
appreciate him. Tell him I'm working closely with my guy Dare Ogumbuwale. He went to Marquette High School, so we trying to come back in Milwaukee and put on a football camp, and hopefully we can make that happen this year. So.
Awesome.
I love it.
To
So,
take
so
away one more thing, Matt, just to take
go ahead.
away from the football thing, you wore the shirt, so you kind
Yeah.
of walked into this. What's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character? Um, yeah, I don't know much about it. Goku, is that how you
Um,
say that?
yeah, you said Goku. Probably, honestly, just Majin Buu. I love Majin Buu. I know everybody loves Cell and Frieza and stuff like that, but Majin Buu was probably my favorite character. It's just, and I
Okay.
know he's a villain, but it's okay.
Well, hey, you play defense and you kind of play like a
Yeah.
villain. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
that's
I always liked the bad guys in the movies,
that's awesome.
so good for
You
you.
know, I feel like a complete neophyte because I have no clue what you guys are talking about. Like,
Yeah, just leave it to us, man. It's out of your
so
realm right now.
yeah, before we jump off, I do want to ask you a couple questions. It sounds like you're proactive. You're on utilizing the direct current. If you could just share a little bit, do you use it for recovery? Do you do the blood
Hmm.
flow? Do you do foot baths? Tell our listeners a little bit about how you take full advantage of, the performance aspects, the injury issues, and the recovery.
Hmm. I'm not really good at the blood flow yet. Since you mentioned that, I definitely want to get better at that and do some sessions with that. But I've really been doing the foot bath. I've had a bunch of high ankle sprains throughout my career and just ankle sprains in general. So, being able to get the foot bath and feel the current through the whole like bottom portion of your leg, I think really helped. Kind of be better and regenerate from those past injuries because once the scar tissue builds up in the ankle and all that stuff, it just gets real restrictive and it's hard to move. So that's been a big help. Another help has been some of the hip um some of the hip uh I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
Protocol.
Yeah, some of the hip
Protocol.
protocols.
Yeah.
Just because you do a lot of running, and I feel like in the past I've had like some hip flexor strains and stuff like that. So, being able to kind of restore the hips back to their normal function is definitely it'll make you look more explosive and feel more explosive. So those have been the protocols that work best for me.
I
Oh,
love it.
and the shoulder ones too for
Yeah.
posture and neck definitely help a lot.
Awesome.
I
I'm
love it.
glad you guys
Well, I'm going to have to find a new trainer because the blood flow. I mean, we got to get you more videos on the utilization that it's like Brandon Marshall went on NFL Today and he swore he slept with that blood flow, and he was on NFL Today. I don't know how many
Yeah.
years ago, but he basically swears it was the direct current blood flow that he used to sleep with that extended his career, along with obviously all the other aspects that he took full advantage of it, just like you do. But
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that one out. That sound pretty good right there.
oh, it is. It's a game changer. That blood flow, because the challenge, or most people, you're so addicted to the contraction
Yeah,
phase because
for sure.
you can feel it. You feel the blood flow. You feel the contractions, and then you absolutely, the next day and the recovery and all that. It's working. The blood
Okay.
flow, you don't really feel it, so it's kind of like but it is actually doing the same. There's so much benefit to the blood flow, and you don't feel it. It's whether you're sleeping, whether you're just sitting watching TV, or whether you're
Mm-hmm.
chilling. There's some advantages, and we'll make sure that we'll get to you the portal for all of our users. We've got all the videos, make it very easy for you to understand it,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can take advantage of it. But
He
boy,
has
now
he has the
now he's
portal.
Pro Bowl material. Once he starts doing the blood flow, I love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's good stuff. Eric, what a great interview. This was very enlightening. Wish you all the best for sure. Jake, any other questions or anything before we call it a wrap it up?
No, good luck to you. I'm more of a college fan. I pull for individuals in the NFL, so you're definitely
Mm-hmm.
a fan of mine. It's funny because after I watch a lot of the highlight videos, some of them I remember from games I've watched,
Yeah.
and others I'm like, wow, I didn't know he did that. So I'm definitely going to be pulling for you this year and your success, and I'm looking forward to your season.
Appreciate
I
you.
think you're gonna have a great one.
Appreciate you.
You put
Yeah,
the work in, you certainly deserve the kudos from that.
yeah. And if our staff was any good, she's coming off a vacation. We would have had already an update if you made the top 10 in one of those unbelievable picks. But
Nah,
it's
it's all right.
it's all
We'll
good.
make some more. Make some more with the Ardnero. I'll be feeling a little better, so we'll get some more.
I
Hey,
love it. Well, Eric, thanks for your time today. Wish you all the best. Really enjoyed learning a little bit about you. Very impressed with you. And, here's your Instagram. So Sarah's waking up from her vacation. She put out your Instagram. I love it. and we'll get you some information on that blood flow. But if there's anything you ever need, you know how to get us, and we appreciate all your time.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on today. So thank you.
All right.
Thanks a
have
lot,
good
Eric.
one.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for